All right, so I want to show you guys how to use my watch list today. So first of all, if you guys traded or are still trading today, it's a really choppy day. At least the morning, the open was extremely choppy. So if we look at the SPY on the daily chart, we're at an all-time high. On top of that, it's a crazy looking doji candle, which is starting to get pushed down now. But any sort of days like this, you can expect them to be extremely choppy. So like a day like that, this kind of a day, that kind of a day, those are all going to be really choppy days. You really want to trade on days with a clear directional movement, and sometimes that can happen in the second half of the day. So the first half of the day, we had a extremely sideways, choppy looking day. And you want to pay attention to that if you're trading large caps. So let me show you guys what I put for my watch list today. So this is what I said. I gave you the pivots for Pfizer, which had a big catalyst today. So maybe we could get some movement there. Peloton, huge gap down, bad earnings. American Airlines, which had a gap up, and DraftKings, which had some news, and as well as a gap down. So I picked my favorite looks for these reasons. So for Pfizer, I said my favorite look was long because long over 49.49. So let's look at Pfizer real quick. So it's not that these favorite looks are necessarily going to happen, but it's more so that if the scenario comes into it, that's the ideal trade on that I would want to make. So I said over 49.49, which is actually the high of the pre-market. And I would want to go long over that because that would mean that not only did Pfizer gap up, but if we break over this, it would become an opening range breakout. On top of that, it would be showing strength because we would have been over the VWAP. Now you could have traded long or short between any of the pivots that I gave you. So if you, for example, use this pivot here, 48.45, when it dropped below and back tested, you could have gone short here. I have these extra trend lines in here, which I didn't put on my watch list, but you guys can actually draw these out by creating diagonal trend lines on your daily chart. And if you need to refresh on how to draw pivots, I have a video on that you could watch. So anyhow, yeah, your trade here would have been to go short right here at 48.45 and then take that and take off position here at this trend line. Otherwise, you could try to hold it until we hit this pivot here. So usually when it hits these diagonal trend lines, we get a little bit choppiness. Now let's talk about my favorite look for the next one. Peloton. Favorite look short under 58.53. So this morning was extremely choppy. And using my levels, you would want to really pay attention on to what's happening. So if you're at an all-time high, you might want to wait it out. On the SPY, we were at an all-time high, as I was showing you earlier. We had that doji candle. So I would say you would want to probably wait till it shakes out a bit. So my favorite look on this stock would have been a short under 58, and that was this pivot here. So let me actually make this bigger so you can see. So here's the pre-market. And I would have gone short under this level because this would have been a back test of a previous pivot. and then a continuation lower would have showed weakness right away. So this actually ended up happening later. Since we blew through this, we ended up just chopping about in the first hour of the day, which would have been really tough. I suppose like you could have gone long after you saw this 5-minute close above the level. However, the only issue I see here is that we didn't get a back test. And you really want to see a back test on a 24-second chart before taking a trade right away. So it wasn't until we got a back test here, and then what actually happened was it failed. So now this would have been a good time to consider taking your short, because you want to see the price get under the level, back test, and then fail. So you would have wanted to take your short here and waited. You would have had to wait until about 7:50, which is 10:50 New York time. So you would have wanted to wait out all this choppiness and maybe see if there was a better trade to take, but there wasn't, from my watch list at least. So yeah, this is where you would have taken your short, and it looks like it's working right now. So once it back tests that level, gets underneath, back tests, now you can short. And hopefully we'll see it continue to this pivot here. So when you take this short here, you're going through this window. This is your price target, but we may not necessarily reach there today. We could reach there over the next day or two. If you don't want to keep your capital in the market, you could always just take profit on the way down and close out as you see fit based off of your profit rules, your profit taking rules, and your stop out rules. You always want to have the same rules, by the way, and always follow them. So yeah, this is the ATR window that we would ideally want to trade once we're going short here. And if you got an entry around here to set a 2-for-1 profit stop, that's your entry, and then you set your target, and then you can do a stop up here. So you want your profit stop to be around, a good standard one would be a 2-to-1. So just like right about here, this would be your stop, assuming you got an entry right here. And you can always adjust this accordingly. So when you do this type of a profit stop, a 2-to-1, you definitely want to be okay with taking this loss between 58.42 and 61.43. So you have to be willing to accept the fact that you could lose this amount right here, which would be almost $3. So you adjust your share size based off of the amount that you're okay to lose, and you kind of just want to let the trade run. So either you're going to lose this or you're going to make this. So you would lose about $3 to make $6. And that's your risk reward profile. So, all right, next, my next favorite look was American Airlines. My favorite look is long 2215, or short under it, depending on how the test goes. So this actually happened in the morning. It didn't quite reach 2215 though, but it made it pretty close. We got up to 2206, which is right here. So it was really choppy though. It would have been hard to trade. If you had taken a short here, you would have had to do some really quick profit taking or be willing to hold your trade through this really choppiness until it goes. So this can definitely mess you up right here, this choppiness. My favorite look would have been long because we had a gap up. We're showing strength. And if the market wasn't choppy today, a continuation move, that would have been the ideal setup. Because we would have been really strong over 22. Ideally, we would have seen it get above 22.15, back test, and then continue. That's the ideal trade on American Airlines today. But a choppy short could have worked too. All right, DraftKings. This is the one that I really wanted to talk about. I actually opened a trade in it recently, so let's see how it's doing. DKNG, my favorite look, was short under 44.09. All right, so with these pivots, I said that my favorite look was short under 44.09, which is this level right here. So you're looking at the pre-market at 5 a.m. You see it's making, well, first of all, it had a huge gap down, and then it's trying to start to reclaim these levels. So what I would have wanted to see is that, you know, maybe we get back up here. We could probably maybe take a small position up here in anticipation of a short. But what you really want to see is a back test to this level and then fail. However, it blew through it, back tested, continued to run, and then now we're starting to go short. So what I did was, you want to pay attention to the 5-minute chart, and you want to get a close below. So this is when things are starting to look like, okay, maybe we can consider taking this trade. But what happens is it comes back up and closes above. So at this point, you know, you still don't want to take your entry yet. What I like to see, so I looked at over at DraftKings over here, and I noticed that it got way below 44.09. So from here, this is when you want to wait for that back test. And this is when you would have wanted to take your short. So you have to look at this on the 24-second chart to make sure that we're going in the direction that we want to see. So let's check out the 24-second chart. And this is exactly what we wanted to see. So we got way below 44.09, and then we back tested and did not break it. If we saw a 5-minute candle close above this, then we would still want to wait a little bit to see what happens. But this was great. So I took a position around here, and now we're waiting to hope and see that it goes lower. So it looks like we're kind of just chopping around previous day's low. Once we can fully clear yesterday's low, I think we're going to continue to this level here. So it looks like maybe we'll start to do that soon, hopefully. However, it is still lunch break, so it may take a little bit. Lunch break has really low volume typically. So probably in the afternoon session, in between 11 and 1, hopefully we'll see this go short, unless for some reason there's a market turnaround, but SPY's looking pretty weak right now. So we're going to want to see this go. So I'm going to hold. All right, so I have my entry right here. This is where I took the entry. So let's figure out my stop. So if this is my target, let's get my stop. So I don't like to put in automatic stops necessarily. I'd rather just create like a line and set an alert. So this is going to be my stop, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create an alert right here. So if we get a 5-minute close above this line, I'm going to want to close out, stop out. So right now we're doing pretty good. It looks like if we can break this, then we'll have a new lower low on the day and hopefully continue lower. So we'll see what happens, and I'll be back to continue this video in probably in an hour or an hour and a half. All right, so it's about noon on the West Coast, and there's an hour till the market closes, and we're looking at DraftKings. So we did it. We hit the target almost exactly to the penny, bounced off, and came straight up. So this just, just showing you that these levels really work. So I did want to address one thing. You might want to ask, okay, why not just go short after a back test of the VWAP? Well, you could do that. That is a possible entry point. But these pivots, they are mapped out on the daily chart, which means over the history of the price action, this level has been bounced off of numerous times. So the VWAP is not necessarily going to be a pivot. However, there are VWAP strategies where you can go short with a back test of the VWAP, but just, make sure you understand those properly before using them. These pivot levels, they do really work. They do have high reactivity, and this is an example of a pivot with a back test working exactly perfectly and heading exactly straight to the next pivot and testing it almost exactly to the penny. So I did get out, I took profit, and I took my position off somewhere around here. And if you were, so I wasn't actually sitting at my desk after it blew through, but what you could have done is you actually could have taken a trade on the back test and gone long here, because it looks like your target could have been the previous day's low, or it could have been back up to 44.09. Because DraftKings has such high volume today, it increases the chances that you can actually get through these ATR windows more than once. So we could have taken this trade down here and then done it again, and you just keep capitalizing on these windows. And that's what algos do. The reason that these prices are going all the way through, hitting them, coming right back up, is because that's what algos are looking for. And that's why these pivots work, because they're driven by HFTs, who knows, algos. It's really not exactly clear, but this isn't your individual retail trader pushing the price. This is big money pushing it. And this is exactly what they look for, is these windows with potential to run, and the windows have to be larger than the ATR of the stock. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to give me a like, and I'm going to keep posting more. See you later.